What I'm going to do now is actually bring some different data sources and try to integrate them in GraphDB. So let's do that, right? So let's go to GraphDB. Okay, so let's create a new repository, right? You know how to do that, right? We create a new repository. Let's name it module data. Exactly. Yeah, and that's it. Create. So I go to this repo here. Let's go to this repo, and I have only 70 statements, or the basic statements, or the resources, stuff like that. So now I want to bring some information. So let's go to certain data sets. There's a lot of data sets online. You don't need to create them manually. So Kaggle, have you heard of Kaggle? No. So just it's a place where people try to do stuff with data, like machine learning, or just read some data sets. So they provide data sets, and you can do some actual algorithms on that, and there's competitions and stuff like that. So let's go to Kaggle and bring some data sets from there. So from Kaggle, I just want the data set. You can just write it down on your own, or you can just download it from somewhere else. So let's say, I just searched for that yesterday, country. So let's choose a nice, interesting data set about countries. Here, the corruption perception index. Let's have a quick look on that. So what does the data set do? Okay, so basically it's how much corrupt is this country. Let's see the Netherlands. 8. Ranked 8. Okay. So we have this data set, and it's in CSV. And let's try to convert it to RDF and try to make interesting things about it. The thing is, I don't need all the columns. Okay, I can do that later. So there's here a button called download. I download the CSV file. It is here. Let's put it here in the desktop, which is very well organized. So if I open this with any text editor, I can see that this file is like this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns. 9 columns, right? So this, you understand CSV files. CSV files are comma-separated files. So you have New Zealand. So you have New Zealand is the country. Its rank is, so that's the first column. Its rank is 1. Its country code, which is the third column, just count how many commas before that. There's 2 commas before that. How many commas there's here? 2. So that's the, here's the country code. Here's 1, 2, comma. Region is Asia Pacific. And this CPI score is actually 90. So actually, very high for New Zealand. So it's not corrupt. So let's go to GraphDB and try to import the CSV file into RDF. To do that, import. If it was an RDF before, like you did in your assignments before, you just say import RDF, right? You did that before. Am I wrong? You did that before. Yeah. So if it's a CSV file, I can just open Tabular in OntoRefine. So that's a plugin in GraphDB called OntoRefine that allows me to convert CSV files and other type of files like JSON and everything else. So how do you do that? So I just take Tabular, OntoRefine, and you create a project. This project, it's not a repo. It's a completely different thing than repository. So create a project, and I upload this CSV file that I have. What is it called? What was it called? History? Yeah. And I say next. So immediately it recognizes that it's a CSV file, and it can show me here. If I just manage to put this down a little bit. It can show me here the values. So here it can show me here. I just managed to put this down a little bit. can show me here the values. So here are the columns, and here are the values. So New Zealand has rank 1, country code, Asia Pacific. Right? I'm just viewing the CSV file for now. Everything is still here. I name this project something. Let's say country project, and I create the project. Okay, so I have 176 countries because there's one row for each country, right? For instance, New Zealand is the first row, Denmark is the second, and each one has certain values. So let's say I don't need everything, so let's try to remove some other columns. I don't want to import everything into RDF, so I'm going to try to remove certain columns, edit columns, remove this column. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can actually edit. For instance, if I want instead of Asia Pacific, okay, so we can do this facet, text facet here. And it tells me that there's 2 countries from America, 32 countries, sorry, 30 from Asia Pacific, 50 from Europe and Central Asia, and stuff like that. So this is the data I'm getting. So if I say, no, I don't want to call it Americas, I want to call it North and South America, let's say, and I can change it for everything. I can just say North and South America. And now it changes for everybody. So, and you can do this kind of editing, so that you can learn on your own. You can do some kind of editing. But for now, let's try to remove certain columns that we don't need. Edit column, remove this column. Also remove this one. You understand what I'm doing, right? There's a lot of things that I don't need to import. That's just I'm doing that. So this file contains a lot of columns, and I don't need them all in RDF. Just not interesting for me. And I said I don't want to import them all. I just want to import the rank, the country. I don't even need the country code. Remove this column. And I don't even need the region also. I just want the country, its CPI score, which is how corrupt it is. The higher, the lower it's corrupt. And I say, okay, I want to import it to RDF. So how to do that? So for now it's clear. I didn't do anything yet, right? I just loaded the CSV file. I removed certain columns that I don't want to import into RDF. And now I want to write it down in RDF. So I can click here RDF and choose my base IRI. I always choose this kind of view. I always change this to view, let's say, Northern data, and finish this with this. And the prefix will be EX. From now on, I can say EX Joe or EX New Zealand instead of writing example.com/u/k. The thing is, it's really bothering me. Yeah. Okay. So what happens here? So that's just a tool how to convert your data from CSV into RDF. So what happens? How would they convert that? So what happens here is the default parameter says that they will create an instance called row 1. And this instance called row 1 will have a relation called CPI 2016 rank. So that's what basically they are saying for now. Again, I didn't do anything yet. I just loaded the CSV file. I removed certain columns that I don't need to make it simpler in order to view them all. And for now, I just click RDF. So by default, it will show me this query. By default. What does this query say? It says that it will convert them into rows. So it will create an instance called row, and said that the first row is a row, is of type row, RDF type row. It has the property CPI 2016 rank, and it will have the value CPI 2016 rank. So it means that this row 1 will have the property CPI 2016 rank, and will have the value 1. CPI 2016 rank. So it means that this row 1 will have the property CPI 2016 rank, and will have the value 1. It will have the property also country, and it will have the value New Zealand. It will have the property CPI 2016 score, and it will have the value 90. So that's for row 1. Row 2, the same thing. So I'm creating here the schema. Row 2 is also a row. Row 2, okay, so row 2 is here, has this property, and the value of row 2 is the value from the column CPI 2016 rank. Right? So that's something by default. So I can just say, look, no, I don't want it to be modeled that way. I want it to be modeled differently. So I just here say, data, generate construct. Okay, someone is filming?
Joe.
I mean, you can, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you do construct. And here, it will tell you that it will construct this, actually, the thing that we have been talking about. That x1, okay? So, what I want to do is to say that I don't want to create this thing called row and have it associated with certain properties. It doesn't have any formal semantics that we are used to. I just want to say that this country has this kind of rank, and this country has a CPI score, right? Makes sense. So from now on, I'm just going to say, I just want to say that I want something that's called country IRI, and I want it to have the value, first RDF type country. So this thing called, that has this IRI will be of type country. It will also have, it will also have the relation CPI 2016 rank. So I can write it down, CPI 2016 rank. And here it will be rank IRI. I'm going to name it rank IRI. And also, I will give it the score, CPI score. And it will be score IRI. So I just created three things called one is country IRI, one is rank IRI, and one is score IRI. Now I have to tell this query, what do I mean by country IRI, rank IRI, and score IRI? I just want to associate some values to them. So I will just say, bind IRI here, it's already written that this country IRI here, the thing is it's not showing you well because it's this country IRI here, take the value from country. So what is basically I'm doing is create a URI that is http example.com/view/knowledge/data/ instead of here interrogation point 1, replace this interrogation point with the value of the column country. So in the first column country will be New Zealand, right? And all of this combination of example.com/view/KAD/New Zealand, and then for another row it will be /Netherlands, then it will be / all the countries, right? If you create one for each country, I'm naming it country IRI. And I'm saying that this country IRI will have a rank score that is a value rank IRI. But I didn't define what is rank IRI. So I do that also. So what would be rank IRI in that case? So also create a URI that had like this http example.com/view slash KAD slash something from CPI rank and give it the value that I set it here, rank IRI. Okay, and the same thing I'm going to do for the last value, which will be score IRI. Again, create for each row, basically here I'm saying for each row, create a IRI, which is a URI, and for the value of the column CPI score, instead of here having interrogation point 1, give me the value of this row for this column, CPI score, and I'm naming it score IRI. So in that case, remember how it was before, like this? So we had this row as something like this. And now, if I run that, I'm going to have, actually, Australia has rank 13. Remember how it was before, like this? So we had this row as something like this. And now, if I run that, I'm going to have, actually, Australia has rank 13. Australia has score 79. And Australia RDF type country. Right? But I did something here doesn't make a lot of sense because rank and score not necessarily are IRIs actually. So they could be just immediately the label. And the thing is, it's very annoying because I cannot see anything here. Yeah. So instead of IRI, I'm just going to say, sorry for wasting your time, but it will help you with the idea that it will be something like this. So Australia is RDF type this. Australia will have this rank. This country I will have, it will have this CPI rank, and this country I will have this CPI score. Now if I run, I'm going to get Australia has this relation rank, which is value 13, and score 79, and Australia is RDF type country. I created the URI. I didn't create a label yet for Australia. Let's do that. Let's create an RDFS label for Australia. And so for every country, basically. So I'm going to say country RI. What do I say? RDFS label. Country. Here, this value. It means that this IRI that I'm creating, it's called country IRI, which is a combination of example.com/view/KAD/ the value of this row for this column. Give it a label, which is the value of this row for this column, without the example.com/view/KAD. And now if I run this, I'm going to have Australia, CPI 2016 rank, which is what I said here. CPI 2016. I can name it something else. I can name it rank. And this I'll name it score. Now if I run, I have Australia rank 13, Australia score 79, Australia RDF type country, and Australia RDFS label Australia. And same thing for the other countries, for each row. And what I did is from this query. Now I just did a construct query. So this is a construct query. It's not an insert data query. So I'm just construct what I'll do here. Just generate me a view of RDF triples like this. If I want to actually insert them into my repository, I just do that here and say open in main SPARQL editor. And instead of construct, I say insert. And I remove the limit, because for the insert, there's no limit. And I say insert country RI. So now it will add these as statements. So added 704 statements. So if I go now to my graph, I can see that I have now these countries in order. So Afghanistan here, has rank 169. They have a lot of corruption apparently, and they have the score 15. Which is not bad actually. So they are ranked 15. Okay. Sorry, the rank 169, but the score 15 because this the lower the score, the more corrupt you are. Okay, so now we created this. So what we did basically is I just went to the web, downloaded a random CSV file, and imported it into GraphDB. And from GraphDB, I just designed the way I want it to be in RDF. So I could have said, okay, as you wish GraphDB, create an instance for each row and do that. But as I said, no, it makes more sense to do it in my way. I did the schema in my way, and I put it in RDF. Yeah.
Why is it not making use of your prefix X? Why is it always?
Yeah, it's just not showing that. But I mean, as part of the queries, I think it will show. Just here, the view here, it's not showing. I'm not sure why, actually. How do you create a prefix in GraphDB? There's somewhere here to create a prefix. Well, anyway, it's not that important, but there's a way to create the prefix in our. I didn't create it actually in the construct, right? So that's what we did for now. But I didn't integrate any data source yet. That's just one source of file. Now I want to know that this country, let's say I want to have a study to see if there's a correlation between how big is the country. Is there a correlation between how big is the country and how corrupt it is? Okay? Is it clear? So let's say I'm a historian, so I want to do some kind of social study, and I want to see if there's a correlation between the size, the area of the country, and its level of corruptness. Right? So I want to integrate different data sources to do that. Now what I have for now is only the level of corruptness of each country. So how am I going to get this value of how big is this country? So that's the page of Wikipedia Netherlands. It showed me in French. I don't know why. So I'm going to download this turtle file. So everything I'm seeing here, it means that this concept here has actually abstract this value. If I say RDFS label, Netherlands, so all of this are in RDF, right? This is a turtle file, just a view over this turtle file. So I say I want to download this turtle file. That's the turtle file. What I care about is actually the label here. So I'm just going to copy all of this. Very simple way to do that. And just go to GraphDB, say import RDF, because I'm putting a file which is already in RDF, right? We saw with Wikipedia. Wikipedia put things in RDF. I just showed you the turtle file. This is RDF. I don't need to do the thing that I did before, the column thing. I just can import that. Of course, I can upload the RDF file, or I can just say, okay, I can want to copy this here. And of course, I have to end it with and import. Unexpected end of file. Okay. Okay, imported successfully in that second. So now, if I go to explore, here, I'm going to have much more statements. If I do the SPARQL query, select SPO, okay? I just want to see how, if I got this Wikipedia Netherlands thing, and just show me the O filter, O equal Netherlands, right? I have this, the Netherlands, so just look at this. This is from where? Is it from the Wikipedia or is it from the thing that I created in my CSV file?
Create yourself.
Yeah.
This is example.
Exactly. Why it doesn't show the Wikipedia one? Who can tell me why it doesn't show the Wikipedia one? Although I said, give me everything that has a label, Netherlands. or RDFS table if I have to be more specific. Also, it will not give me anything.
Is this a language?
Exactly. Exactly. So if I look here, RDFS table, it shows that there's always they're always associating the label with the language. So it's not equals to the Netherlands, but if I put here equals to Netherlands in English, it will show me the Wikipedia. Right? This is the Wikipedia. If I want to see both of them, I say that there's this function in SPARQL which is called str, which gives you the actual value. Filter str o. Sorry. Okay, so now I see both. Why? Because there's this function in SPARQL called str, which gets the value of the literal without the language part. So what I did here is that I asked one simple query. I said, give me everything, because I said here star, that have an RDFS table, where the subject that has an RDFS table and object. And I said, give me only the object, basically that have, filter the object with the ones that have Netherlands. I did that before, and it did show me both of them, because one of them, of the Wikipedia, had this language tag. And I said, okay then, this function str removes this language tag, right? And so, after removing this language tag, I want it to be called Netherlands. And I did that, and it gave me both. So the idea here, I want to be able to link those. Now I want to say that actually the Netherlands that I imported from the CSV file is actually the same as the Netherlands that's from the Wikipedia. That's the idea here. I want to integrate the data source in order to say that actually later, because if I click on this Netherlands thing, there's a lot of information that I might need. Other than the RDFS label and stuff, there's this area part. So if you look here at the Wikipedia, all of this information are here. The area, population density, all of this are necessary in my study, where I want to see if there's a correlation between the number of population of this country and its corruption level, right? So again, what I'm doing here is, I want to have a study. If there's a correlation between how much this country has corruption, if there's a correlation between this number, and if there's a correlation between how much people it has, the population. In my CSV file that I imported that, I didn't have the population of the countries. So I cannot make this study. I only have the corruption in it. So what I did is I went to the CPI 2016 line. So it means that this row 1 will have the property CPI 2016 rank, and will have a value 1. It will have the property also country, and it will have the value New Zealand. It will have the property CPI 2016 score, and it will have the value 90. So that's for row 1. Row 2, the same thing. So I'm creating here the schema. Row 2 is also a row. Row 2, okay, so row 2 is here, has this property, and the value of row 2 is the value from the column CPI 2016 rank. Right? So that's something by default. So I can just say, look, no, I don't want it to be modeled that way. I want it to be modeled differently. So I just here say, data, generate construct. Okay, someone is filming?
Joe.
I mean, you can, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you do construct. And here, it will tell you that it will construct this, actually, the thing that we have been talking about. That x1, okay? So, what I want to do is to say that I don't want to create this thing called row and have it associated with certain properties. It doesn't have any formal semantics that we are used to. I just want to say that this country has this kind of rank, and this country has a CPI score, right? Makes sense. So from now on, I'm just going to say I just want to say that I want something that's called country IRI, and I wanted to have the value first RDF type country. So this thing called that has this IRI will be of type country. It will also have, it will also have the relation CPI 2016 rank. So I can write it down, CPI 2016 rank. And here it will be rank IRI. I'm going to name it rank IRI. And also, I will give it the score, CPI score. And it will be score IRI. So I just created three things called one is country IRI, one is rank IRI, and one is score IRI. Now I have to tell this query, what do I mean by country IRI, rank IRI, and score IRI? I just want to associate some values to them. So I would just say, bind IRI here, it's already written that this country IRI here, the thing is it's not showing in UI because it's this country IRI here, take the value from country. So what is basically I'm doing is create a URI that is http example.com/view/nodegen-data/ instead of here interrogation point 1, replace this interrogation point with the value of the column country. So in the first row, the value of the column country will be New Zealand. Right? And all of this combination of example.com/view/KAD/New Zealand, and then for another row it will be /Netherlands, then it will be / all the countries, right? If you create one for each country, I'm naming it country IRI. And I'm saying that this country IRI will have a rank score that is a value rank IRI. But I didn't define what is rank IRI. So I do that. Also. So what would be rank IRI in that case? So also create a URI that had like this http example.com/view/KAD/ something from CPI rank, and give it the value that I set it here, rank IRI. Okay, and the same thing I'm going to do for the last value, which will be score IRI. Again, create for each row, basically here I'm saying for each row, create a IRI, which is a URI, and for the value of the column CPI score, instead of here having interrogation point 1, give me the value of this row for this column, CPI score, and I'm naming it score IRI. So in that case, remember how it was before, like this? So we had this row as something like this. And now, if I run that, I'm going to have, actually, Australia has rank 13. Remember how it was before, like this? So we had this row as something like this. And now, if I run that, I'm going to have, actually, Australia has rank 13. Australia has score 79. And Australia RDF type country. Right? But I did something here that doesn't make a lot of sense because rank and score not necessarily IRIs actually. So they could be just immediately the label. And the thing is, it's very annoying because I cannot see anything here. Yeah. So instead of IRI, I'm just going to say, sorry for wasting your time. Rather, it will help you with the idea that it will be something like this. So Australia is RDF type this. Australia will have this rank. And this country I will have, sorry, it will have this CPI rank. And this country I will have this CPI score. Now if I run, I'm going to get Australia has this relation rank, which is value 13, and score 79, and Australia is RDF type country. I created the URI. I didn't create a label yet for Australia. Let's do that. Let's create an RDFS label for Australia. And so for every country, basically. So I'm going to say country RI. What do I say? RDFS label. Country. Here, this value. It means that this IRI that I'm creating, it's called country IRI, which is a combination of example.com/view/kad/ the value of this row for this column. Give it a label, which is the value of this row for this column, without the example.com/view/kad. And now if I run this, I'm going to have Australia, CPI 2016 rank, which is what I said here. CPI 2016. I can name it something else. I can name it rank. And this I'll name it score. Now if I run, I have Australia rank 13, Australia score 79, Australia RDF type country, and Australia RDFS label Australia. And same thing for the other countries, for each row, to the end. And what I did is from this query. Now I just did a construct query. So this is a construct query. It's not an insert data query. So I'm just construct what I'll do here. Just generate me a view of RDF triples like this. If I want to actually insert them into my repository, I just do that here and say open in main SPARQL editor. And instead of construct, I say insert. And I remove the limit, because for the insert, there's no limit. And I say insert, country RI. So now it will add these as statements. So added 704 statements. So if I go now to my graph, I can see that I have now these countries in order. So Afghanistan here has rank 169. They have a lot of corruption apparently. And they have the score 15. Which is not bad actually, so they are ranked 15. Okay. Sorry, the rank 169, but the score 15, because this, the lower the score, the more corrupt you are. Okay, so now we created this. So what we did basically is I just went to the web, downloaded a random CSV file, and imported it into GraphDB. And from GraphDB, I just designed the way I want it to be in RDF. So I could have said, okay, as you wish GraphDB, create an instance for each row and do that. But as I said, no, it makes more sense to do it in my way. I did the schema in my way, and I put it in RDF. Yeah.
Why is it not making use of your prefix X? Why is it always?
Yeah, it's just not showing that. But I can, I mean, as part of the queries, I think it will show. Just here, the view here, it's not showing. I'm not sure why actually. How do you create the prefix in GraphDB? There's somewhere here to create the prefix. But anyway, it's not that important, but there's a way to create the prefix in our, I didn't create it actually in the construct, right? So, that's what we did for now. But I didn't integrate any data source yet. That's just one source of file. Now I want to know that this country, let's say I want to have a study to see if there's a correlation between how big is the country. Is there a correlation between how big is the country and how corrupt it is? Okay? Is it clear? So let's say I'm a historian, so I want to do some kind of social study, and I want to see if there's a correlation between the size, the area of the country, and its level of corruptness. Right? So I want to integrate different data sources to do that. Now what I have for now is only the level of corruptness of each country. So how am I going to get this value of how big is this country? So I want to make a study. about if there's a correlation between the population of a country and its corruption index. So what I did is I just went to the web. I just got a data set that showed me for each country its corruption index. But it didn't show me its population. So I know for each country how much it's corrupt. It was in a CSV. I showed you how to convert it from CSV into RDF in the schema that I want. So I want it to be structured that way and that way. So we did that with the plugin called OntoRefine in GraphDB, which is accessed from here. Import traveler OntoRefine. So now this data set in CSV, I converted it into RDF. So for now, in my data set in RDF, I know that for each country, how much it's corrupt. But I don't know the population of this country in order to continue my study. So what I did is, I know that population of the countries exists in the Wikipedia. So I said, okay, let's try to link these things that I have with the URIs of the Wikipedia. And that way now I can have access to their population. Actually, I did something wrong here, because in this study it will not be beneficial, because I didn't import from the Wikipedia the population. I just did the link of the countries. I didn't bring the population. So what do I do in that case? So let's make it again construct. So in order to my study to work, I should import the population from the Wikipedia, right? For each country. How do I do that? Okay, let's go to the Wikipedia. Have a look here at where is this? What's country? Okay, this is Netherlands. And let's have a look at the population. What is the name of this relation? Population total, right? I want to extract also this population total value from the Wikipedia. So I just say, okay, where is this? Okay. And also, for this country of the Wikipedia, it was here, sorry. For this country of the Wikipedia, give me its population. And I can name it whatever I want. So I'm going to name it, like this, http joe.com/population. Right? And I'm going to give it the value, population. I'm just going to name it something, population, whatever. And this population value, I'm going to bring it from Wikipedia, from here. And say that it has DBO population. Where did I bring this DBO population total? From here. I'm going to bring it to here. And I'm going to also name it population. I can actually name it Wikipedia population, and here population. So now when I construct this query, it will also now not only bring the same as links between things that I have in the Wikipedia URIs, but also will show me the population of each country. Yeah?
If you ensure it again, you won't
No, there's no duplicates in RDF. So each statement is only once. So if I'm now going to insert, no, there's no duplicates in RDF. So each statement is only once. So if I'm now going to insert, I added 188 statements. Because apparently some countries have two values for population total probably. So it could be. So now if I go to my graph here, also if you bear with me 3 more minutes, really I want to show you something cool very in 3 more minutes. If I go here to the Explore, the default graph, I can see everything now here, that this country, Albania, is same as my country that I created called Albania. If I click on that, it has a population of whatever, and it's the same as Albania, right? And you can bring actually, from this SPARQL query that I wrote, from the SPARQL query that I wrote, I can just bring any property from Wikipedia now, because I already made this link between my URIs and Wikipedia. And if I say, okay, I just want something else from Wikipedia, who's the leader of this country? I can just say DBO leader. I can name this country in Wikipedia again. I can name it whatever I want, http://joe.com/leader. And then name it whatever, literally whatever. And then here says, okay, DBO leader, whatever. And here I forgot to put this down. And from. I did insert immediately, sorry for that. If we do the construct, we can see that we also got the leader now. Right? It's nice. So, of course, it doesn't come immediately. You look at me how is he doing that with practice. So once you try it at home by yourself, you will see that. And now you have the video. And if you can share it with your friends, it's great. And you can do that.